Hello everyone, I'm Abdurrahman, the geometry noder of iCity. In this video, we're going to explore iCity 1.6.2, the latest release of iCity. So before we start, don't forget to subscribe and press the like button. And let's go. So in a new Blender file, I'm going to install iCity. The process is very easy. All you have to do is to go to the folder where you have iCity. And then all you have to do is to drag drop the zip file inside your Blender 3D viewport like this. Then it's going to ask you install from disk, say OK. Okay, so if you saw this modulus notification down, it says that the add-on now is in your Blender viewport. So I restarted the Blender after I installed iCity, and now when I press the N button, as you can see, we have iCity in here. So let me first turn on the screencast so you can see 1% like this. And then I'm going to delete everything inside of my scene. Go to the shading properties, viewport shading, and make sure to turn off the shadows, cavity, because they are going to be very heavy when dealing with iCity. And let me collapse this area in here. So going to iCity, as you can see the basic UI, it says start, which is going to append the first block you're going to deal with. And we can see the start with settings presets, which is if you want to have the city, but without the props, the water drains, the trees, the road lights. Let me just show you. I'm going to press start without having the start with settings preset. Now I'm going to have the city but with low amount of details, which is going to be good for higher performance and faster for renders and maybe useful when dealing with architectural stuff. So as we can see, there's the UI blocks, roads, global and export, and we have the light mode and edit city. Those are the 6 main buttons to use when using iCity. So as we can see, this is the city without any trees or road lights, not that much of details. Yeah, I'm not going to do the tutorial with this. If you want to have the trees in your scene, it's very easy. I'm going to just show you how to do it now before I start with the settings presets. Go to road, sidewalk, props, and you have to enable them from here. Go to trees, enable them like this. Okay. So some props are not going to be enabled because the sidewalk width must be larger than some amount. Like in the bus station section, when turning it on, nothing changes because the sidewalk width must be like 4 meters, I believe. Just this. Yeah, here we can see a bus station now appeared. Okay. I'm not going to start with this. Okay, so now in a new scene, I'm going to start with settings preset and going to press the start button, which will give me all the trees and road lights and all that stuff that we're going to see the options you can deal with these things for the future. So as we can see, I have shadows on and cavity on, which is, as I said, they are heavy. And turning off the outline and all that stuff is going to make it much faster. And if it's still laggy, you can just select custom in the viewport shading, so it's going to be much faster. Okay? So as we can see, this copy does have a lot of stuff on the road, benches, trees, road lights, all that stuff. So I'm going to start with the edit city. What is the edit city? When clicking the edit city, you're going to enter the edit mode. And inside of the edit mode, you can draw your city. Draw the network you want to put the buildings on and all that stuff. So how to draw your city is very easy. All you have to do is to use the modeling tools. Like for example, extrude then shift Z so I can extrude in the XY plane. Now we have a new road. I know the trees are not the same because you can change them and Those are the default trees in iCity. Okay, so you can just extrude, maybe selecting this face, then pressing S so you can scale it, then Control R to add a loop cut in here, and another Control R so you add another loop cut in here, and maybe just pressing G so you move this vertex like this. And if you're asking, does iCity support slopes? Yes, the answer is yes. So you can, for example, select this vertex in here in the model and raise it a little like this. Okay, so let me just walk inside of this road so we can see what happened. So as we can see, we have the sidewalk turned into kind of stairs. Okay, all these parts turned into walls, and parts that are connected to the street are going to be the entrances and the markets and all that stuff. Okay, so that's about the slopes. Let me just scale it 0. So that's about the edit city. What about if I want to have a proxy city? What do you mean by proxy city? So we have something called the light mode, which allows you to edit the city, but it's much faster than the not light mode. Okay, so you can scale, it's much faster, and it's going to be very, very fast when dealing with other blocks. Like the grid is kind of the same performance with the light mode, but the blocks like the towers, the parks, and all that stuff is going to be very fast. Okay, so that's about the light mode. It's not a perfect representation for the real city. As we can see, this building in here is this much tall. Now when I exit the light mode, we can see that it's much lower than this. Okay, so that's the basics. Now this video is going to be divided into parts. The first part is going to be the blocks section. The second one is the road section. The third one is the global. And lastly, we're going to talk about the export. And after that, we're going to see the questions the community asked us on the community. So how to go to the community? Down in here, you can see the Discord icon. Just click in here and you're going to be in our community. We're going to answer your questions, see your suggestions, all that stuff. Okay? So, going to the blocks. As you can see, we have in iCity 7 types of blocks. We have the grid, towers, terrace, parking, green, park, and none. In order to assign the block to a certain face, all you have to do is to enter the edit city, then make sure you are in face select mode. Select this face, for example, and let's say I want to give it a tower. Go to the tower section. Choose one of the 8 tower blocks we have. For example, I'm going to stick with this one. Then click assign the tower. As you can see, we have this tower. I know it's not the same as the image says, but that's because the block is very small. You can just scale up this block and it's going to be much better. So I'm going to enter the light mode, move it a little further. As you can see, some blocks are being hidden when moving. That's because the light mode uses a low accuracy system, which is much faster. And there is a way to fix this. I'm going to talk about it later when I go to the global settings. Let me just move these like this so I can have the full size of the tower block. We'll just scale everything up a little. As you can see, this is our tower now. So when I exit the light mode, we're going to see the tower having the parking. In here we have parking for the cars. And you can see a swimming pool on the podium. You know, it's a tower, okay? And this is how you assign the blocks. So go to Terrace, for example, assign to Terrace, and you're going to see the Terrace block. Parking is the same, green is the same, etc. Okay? So I'm going to start with the grid block. I'm going to talk about its settings, then go into the tower, terrace, parking, green, parks, none, covering all the settings. Then we're going to jump to the second part of the video. We're going to talk about the road. So delete everything, add a plane, scale it 90, and this is our grid block. So as you can see, the grid is divided into three sections: general, buildings, and trees. And for quick, I'm going to start with the trees since it's the easiest one. So let's go to the trees. And as we can see, we have three probability limit or the render mode. And just mentioning my PC speeches, let me just show you. Go to system, I have NVIDIA 3090 and AMD Ryzen 9, 32 gigabytes of RAM. Okay? Anyway. So as you can see, this is the city in the render mode. All I have is the sky texture. Nothing fancy in here. Here's the settings. And for the compositor, I have these nodes in here. You can just copy them if you want. Okay? And let me just go to properties and collapse this part. I have the compositor always enabled. Okay? So here's without the compositor, here's with. Okay? So this is our city. And let me just move the sunlight, the sun, so it just lights the trees so we can just see what's going to happen now. Okay, so in the trees section, as we can see, we have this tree icon. When I click it, we have 13 trees in here. You can control the density of each type of trees inside of this block. So for example, yeah, I love this sakura tree. I'm going to make the most populated one in this block. So just increase the slider to 1. Now it's the most visible tree in the block. So for example, I hate this tree. I want to remove it. Just throw it down to 0. Okay. I love this red tree. I want more of it. Just increase the slider. Okay. As we can see, we have one here. You can increase it more and more and more. Like this. That's too much for sure. So I'm going to stick with something like this. I'm not trying to make scenes now. I'm just explaining the tool. Okay. And we have the tree density, which controls the density of all the trees. So decreasing this to 0 is going to give us this empty green areas. Okay. You can put your assets in here or put anything you want. It's up to you. Okay. And let me just increase the tree density again a little, then change the tree distribution seed. For example, if you hate this seed, you don't like how the trees are looking, but you want these trees with these probabilities, you can just change the distribution seed and we're going to have more variations of this distribution, okay? So that's about the seeds. The trees, I'm sorry. Okay. Then we have the buildings, which is kind of the same how the trees work. So we have this building icon, click it. You have 13 different buildings for the grid system, okay? So for example, I had this building. I don't want to see it. Let me just see, where do I have it? Yeah, I think I don't have one of this in the scene. Okay, let's say I love it. I don't hate it. Okay, so when I increase its probability, just grab the slider up, and here you can see this building is now here and here and here. It's all over the city. Okay, so for example, you don't want to have that much of ACs on the building. Drag the AC slider down. I'm sorry, the AC, not the building probability. Now there's no ACs. Only for this building. This setting is related to this building, okay? So for example, let's see this one. This one here. This one does have ACs and this one does have. So if I just took this slider and increase it up, as you can see, there's a lot of ACs on the left side, but the right side, the right building, does not get affected. Okay, that's about the ACs. We have the scaffolds too. So where's the scaffolds? Okay, just mentioning scaffolds. It's is not something that works perfectly with all the buildings. Okay, but let me increase it so you can see what are the scaffolds. As you can see, now we have something like the building is under construction or something like this. Okay, it's not going to work well with this type of building, but with others, it's going to be very nice. Okay. Then we have the signs probability, which is the, just get a closer shot for this building. As you can see, this signs in here. Okay, offices, spaces, hotel, all these, you can control the probability from here. And what do we have else? We have the additional floors, which is going to add more floors to this single building. Okay, so for example, I wanted to have extra 3 floors. Now we have 3 floors added. Or maybe you want to make it less level. Okay, so you subtract the floors, which is possible. For example, I'm going to subtract 4 floors, as we can see. But I know you're asking, what if I just took this slides down, like minus 15, 14, okay? It's going to only give you 2 floors, the ground floor and the top floor, okay? And that's for all these types of buildings, okay? And lastly, we have the distribution seed. Oh, sorry, not lastly. We have the remove stair and the remove roof, okay? So let me just make this the default 0. We have the distribution seed, which is going to control the distribution of the buildings in this scene. Okay, as you can see. So let me just go back to the seed 71. As you can see, we have this building. Yeah, let me just pick it, which is this one. Okay, and as you can see, we have the remove stairs. Like for example, if you hate the stairs on this building, you can just disable them. Here you go. Okay. And you have the remove roof. For example, you hate the roof for this building. You see it's not fitting well with the scene. Just remove it using this button. And it's going to be removed only for this type of buildings. Okay. And that's for the 13 buildings. Okay. Then we have the general settings. And as we can see, most of them are turned off. That's because you have to be in the edit city, in the face select. Okay. So let's start talking about these. We have the building spacing. As you can see, when I zoom in here, we have these. Let me just exit the render mode. We have these spaces between the buildings, as you can see. So if you want to increase the spacing, you can just, for example, I want 6 meters between the buildings. Here we go. We have 6 meters now. I want 1 meter between the buildings. You know, it's very narrow path, okay? One thing to mention is that you can't make this less than 1, so the minimum is 1. Setting it to 0 is not going to affect anything, okay? Sadly. I know most of you want to, like, oh, no, make it lower than 1, but it's going to make some bugs in the system and stuff like this. That's why I clamped it to 1, okay? Then what do we have? Let me just increase this to 5, for example. We have the subsplit plots, which is going to add another layer of divisions. Okay, let me just click it, as you can see. Now, let me just turn it off first. As you can see, this building, let me go to the top view and draw the silhouette of this building. Okay, real quick. And make it white or maybe blue, then increase the thickness. Okay. So the subsplit plot is going to divide this building into more buildings with 0 spacing. So this is good if you hate the massing, so you want to make something different, I think. As you can see, it splitted the building into multiple buildings. Anyway, mentioning this is a little heavy, so I don't recommend using it with very big scenes. It's a little heavy, not that much. Anyway, so as we can see, there is the tamper roof probability, which allows you to, for example, this building, this one, and this one, and this one. I think this one, yeah, okay, does have the tamper roof on or the roof remove roof off. Okay, the one I showed you in here. Okay, so you can control the probability of this roof. For example, you want all the buildings that does have the remove roof off having a roof. Okay, this is an option, or you can just drag it down to 0, so you turn off all the roofs on all the buildings. Increase it a little so you have a small amount. This seed is so weird. Let me just subdivide the blocks so you can just see the effect better. Something like this. Okay, so let me increase the tamper roof probability now so you can better see what's going to happen. As you can see, more buildings are having roofs now when I increase the slider. Okay, then we have the billboard density. We have billboards on the top of the buildings. Like, let me just increase it so you can see. As you can see, we have billboards now all over the city. In here, it says iCars and feeds and stuff like this. What is iCars? It's an add-on. You can get it from Superhive, done by us. As you can see here, we have a lot of iCars billboards. As you can see, the exposure is a little too much. Anyway, then what do we have? We have the imperfections in here, the imperfections section. What is the imperfections section? So as you can see, these trash scattered on the path. If you just want to lower their, no, not this one, the imperfections here. You can increase them if you want. So like it's a messy city, something like this. Okay, and you can just, for example, disable them in the viewport. So now when you press F12, you're going to see them in the render, but not in the viewport. Or you can do the opposite, turn them off in the render and on in the viewport, or like this, you will not have the imperfections on the ground. Okay, and we have the trash box density, the same. You can increase the density or decrease it. As you can see, this one here, this one, this one. Okay, you can just decrease the probability or increase it. Okay, so that's for the settings that does not need the edit mode. Okay, what about the offset? Offset Y, rotation, scale, block seed. What is this? Let me enter the light mode, then go to edit city and scale this block down a little. Okay, so starting with the offset, let's say this building in here or this block in here, it's not what you like. You want something more like a different massing, for example. So all you have to do is to grab the offset X slider like this and go in it to offset it on the X axis. I think it's inverted, the Y and the X. Anyway, you can just move this slider, and as you can see, the grid now is moving. And you have the offset Y, which is going to move it on the other direction, so you can see what fits your preferences. Like, what do you like? Okay. And we have the rotation, which allows you to rotate the entire grid that forms this block. Okay. For example, if you want to have something like this. Okay. And then we have the scale. The minimum value of the scale is 1, and you can increase it up to infinity. So it's going to increase the scale of the grid that is on this building. And sadly, this is going to lead to multiply this value by the building spacing. For example, now we have 6 meters of the building scale or the block scale, which means 6 times 5, this is the distance between those two buildings. It's 30 meters now. Okay, a scale of 1 is going to give you the 5 meters as it is. Okay, so let me exit the light mode now, and let me just show you the block seed. The block seed, let's say that, this block, I don't like it. It's filled with this, I don't know, this building. Okay, so you can just change the block seed. No, not the add floors. I'm sorry about that. The block seed, where's the block seed? Here it is. Tick, tick. As you can see, it's only changing the buildings on this block, not affecting any other block. Okay, so that's something to mention. Then we have the add floors per block, which is going to add floors per block. I showed you this accidentally when I was playing with the block seed. Anyway, so you can just do the same with the, like, it's the same as the building settings. You can just make it minus 100, for example, which is going to clamp it to 2. So all your buildings now are 2 floors. Okay, as you can see, let me just move a little. They're all made or built with 2 floors, the ground floor and the top floor. Okay, I know the trees are annoying and you can see very well because of them. We'll cover the trees in the road section. Okay, so that's the grid building, and as you can see, we have this icon. It's going to hide them from the viewport, but when you press F12, I don't have a camera, so it's not going to render. But when you press F12, you can see the buildings. This is useful for optimization purposes, and if the 3D viewport is lagging, when you have a very big scene, and it's very useful. And you can hide them from the render. So now when you press F12, you're going to see no blocks in here. I don't know why this is going to be useful. I don't know. But it's just here if you want to use it. Then let's go to the towers. Okay. So we have 8 towers. And some of them are real life towers. Okay. So we have this one, which is not a real life tower. You can just assign it. And the podium is something that is random. So you remember at the beginning of the video, I got the one with the pool and all that stuff and the parking. I think there is a parking on this side now. Okay. Or for example, let me just pick this block and give it this tower. Okay. Or for example, this one having the Empire State. Okay, and lastly, we have this Terrace block of towers. You can just click assign, wait a second, and now you have terraced blocks. Something to mention, if the block is very, very, very big, for example, let me just duplicate this block, move it to the side, entering the light mode so we can see how fast it's going to be. As you can see, the heights are a little different anyway, and scaling this block a lot. As you can see, it converted to the terraced one. That's because you will have a very huge space between the tower and the roads, which is not logical, so we did this. Okay, sorry about that. Let me increase the clipping. If you run into this issue, just go to view and add 2 zeros. That's it. Thank you. Okay, back to iCity, exiting the light mode. And let's see how the towers look in the 3D view, in the render. Let me just go to render. And yeah, here's the towers. Let me just decrease the exposure. It's too much. Here's the color management settings. I have AGX, look, nothing, exposure 0. I'm going to de-expose this. Something like this is a little nice, maybe? Not pretty sure. Something like this. Okay. Back to the city. And yeah, here we have the swimming pool. You can just add your own assets like a swimming ring, some people swimming, and then take a close shot with some volumetrics, stuff like this. We have this parking in here for this tower, and I don't know. We have, I think there is a parking in here. Not pretty sure. Yeah, there is a parking in here. Okay. So these are the general settings for the towers. You can, for example, towers like this one, the all of those. Okay, you can just go to Edit City, exiting the render, selecting this block, and changing the seed, which is going to give you a lot of different shapes for this tower. For example, this one. You can click it again, you'll end up having this one, this one. You know, it just keeps generating random towers. For example, this one. This one is a little weird. I like it. Anyway, so you have a tower generator in iCity. You can just change this like this, so you have a random distribution here for the towers, as you can see. Then we have the trees section, which is the same as the grid, but there's a small difference, which you can control the tree probability for the tower itself. For example, these green areas and these trees on this tower, okay? So this is going to control them for this part. Let me just, for example, show you the tree density down to 0. Now we have no trees, up to 1. Now we have forest behind the tower. And you can control the same thing for the parking. For example, I love this red tree. I want to increase its density for the parking. So you just increase it, enter the render mode. And here you can see a lot of red trees for the tower's parking. You can decrease the probability of this one, then you will end up with the other 12 trees, okay? And same, you have the seed and the seed for the parking, okay? Then we have the parking, where you can control the parking settings. You can control the car density. For example, you know, there's 40% of the parking slots filled with the cars. You can just increase it up to 100%. Now you'll end up having a lot of cars. You can't go more than 2 or less than 0. Okay. And you have the, why did I click 2? Anyway, you have the water water drain. No, the island every X parking, which controls this island appears each every how much parking. So let me just go to the trees section. I hate this tree, it's so big, so I'm going to decrease its probability, decrease the probability of this one. I think this one is a little big too. The red one is so big. You know, I'm just going to delete all the trees. That's much easier. Go into the parking again. As you can see, we have this green island. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parkings, and the sixth is the island. You can make it 2, then you will end up having 1 parking, 1 island, 1 parking, 1 island, 3, 2 parking, 1 island, 2 parking, 1 island, like this. Okay? And you have the water drain, so you can just increase it up, and you will end up having these black areas where you can fix by going to the render settings, light paths, then in the transparent, raise it up to 32, for example. Now they are gone, okay? Or you can decrease it down to 0, which is going to remove all the water drains from your parking, okay? And yeah, that's the parking block. You have the settings, same as the imperfections in the grid, and you can just hide the towers in the viewport, as I said before. Okay. Okay, so now let's talk about the terrace block. I'm going to delete everything. I'm going to add a plane, make it bigger, and as you can see, the default block is the grid. Go to terrace, assign to terrace. Voila, now you have terrace. Maybe you're asking, is the slopes compatible with all the blocks? The answer is yes. You can do slopes for towers, slopes for terrace, parking, green, parks, none, everything. So we have the terrace, same as all the blocks. We have 3 sections: general, props, trees. Go into trees. And you can see some more settings. You have the tree probability for this tree. For example, kill this one and let's kill the yellow one of this tree. Okay. Entering the render mode, you have the front yard tree density, the backyard, and the middle trees density. Let me just show you what all that means. So let's start with the middle. As you can see, this Terrace block is divided into some parts. First, we have this big middle area. Then we have these plots in here, okay? And each plot is separated into three parts: the backyard, the building itself, and the front yard, okay? So you can control the tree density for each part of this. For example, I hate the trees in the middle, so just kill them, okay? And wait a second until the blender updates. Oh, this is not zero. Anyway, as you can see, now we have a small amount of trees. We have the front yard ones. As you can see, these trees in here. So just take the front yard trees and decrease them. You'll still see some trees which are the sidewalk trees, not the terrace ones, okay? So now the front yard is clean. Then you have the backyard one, which are all these trees in here. And you have the seed. If you hate the trees distribution, you can just move the seed slider and have more variations of the probabilities you have. Okay, going to the props section. As we can see, we have the front yard settings, backyard settings, and the dirt. Starting with the dirt because it's very easy. Just disable it. And all these paths made with the dirt are going to disappear. Add it again, then you will have dirt paths. Okay. Then we have the, what do we have? The tables probability. So if the family is going to go out to the front yard and drink some tea or something like this, okay, you don't want them to do this. Just remove the tables so that, I don't know, they get sad. Okay, and then we have the greenhouses probability. The greenhouses are those houses, small houses in the backyard. You can just disable them by decreasing the density of them. Now they're all going to disappear. Then we have the small props probability, which is for the, let me just get, oh, that's too much. Okay, get a closer shot for the backyard. So the small props are these three pots, and I think there's a barbecue. Yeah, we have this barbecue. Not sure if it's going to hide it or not. Let's see. Yeah, you can't get rid of the barbecue. Anyway, like, it's useful, you know, sometimes you're hungry and you want to make some burgers or stuff like this. And we have the front yard props. So let me just have a close shot in here, exiting the render mode because, you know, I want to have a faster performance, navigate faster. Okay, so we have the tables probability. In some cases, you'll see tables in the front yard. I don't know why. Maybe you're bored from the backyard, so you want to sit in the front yard. Let me just show you first the plant pots, the trash, okay, and then try to find someone that have some tables, like this guy in here. You know, this guy is very rich. He does have two tables, so I'm going to steal them from him, and he does not have tables anymore. And yeah, that's the props section. Now going to the general one. Let me scale the block down so it's easier to see what's going to happen. Okay. I know you're asking, what if the block is too small? You know, it's going to work. As you can see, it's always working. Okay. Um, let me just show you. So we have the housing type and the materials. So as you can see, the default is random house types. We have semi-detached, detached, and terrace. So you can set house type, which is something that works on the edge domain. Go to edit city. Make sure you are in edge selection. Then select this edge, for example, and say, like, I want it to be semi-detached buildings. So click the semi-detached, and now you have semi-detached buildings in here. And the entire block is terraced. Then you see here, I want it to be detached houses. Then just click the detached. Now you have terrace, terrace, detached, semi-detached. Okay. Then what do we have is the materials. You can do the same, set house style, and select this edge. Give it a random seed of materials. Okay. Then select this one, another random seed of materials like this. So they are, I don't know, more different than the others. Okay. Or you can just keep it as random. Just do whatever you feel it's beautiful, more beautiful. Then going to the parking block. That's all about the terrace. Now going to the parking. Just click the assign. And now you have the same parking as the towers have, okay? So here you have a parking block where you can control the island every X parking, the cars density, the water drain density, and the trees, okay? Same as the tower ones. I'm going to say, yeah, that's it. Nothing new. The new thing is that you have this entrance in here. You can't control it or do anything with it. And yeah, that's the parking block. You can just hide it, same as all the other blocks. So as you can see, these are not being hidden because they are related to the sidewalk. Okay, so we're going to talk about the sidewalk later. Anyway, let me just make them appear again, then go to edit city, go into the green. Or before the green, I'm going to talk about the park and the none, then lastly the green. So we have 4 types of parks. Yeah, as you heard. We have this type of park, this one, this one, this one, all these. Okay, you can scale up the park blocks so you can better see the grid. Okay, and you can do the same as you did with the grid buildings. You can offset them on the x-axis. Let me exit the render mode so you can see how they're updating. Okay, and you can offset them on the y-axis. Okay, smaller block means more performance, so it's going to move faster, I think. I don't know. Yeah, as you can see. And same for the Y and same for the rotation. You can rotate from 0 to 360 degree. Let me just move it more and more and more, as you can see. Okay. Okay. Then what? This is the general settings for the park. You can assign this one, for example. Maybe you don't like it, then you just pick this one. You can just pick whatever you want. Then you have the trees, same as all the blocks. Okay, you can, for example, you like this tree, just increase the probability. You hate it, kill it. Then you see that the park is very dense and you hate this, kill all the trees, or make it a forest if you want. And you have the seed. Then okay, let me just decrease the density a little so we can have a look at this thing, which is the props section. So you can control the light on the parking. For example, you want to use this one, like a sign. You want this one, a sign. You want this one, a sign. It's that easy, okay? So let me just have a closer shot for this one. Okay? And then you have the benches. Okay, before the benches, you have the spacing. So now the distance between each road light. Road light? No, it's a light. Okay, the distance between each light is 10 meter. You can make it 2 meters, for example. Now you have a park of lights. We can make it, I don't know, 15. You can hide and unhide the lights, so now they're not going to appear in the 3D viewport, but when you press F12, you're going to see them. And you have the benches, same as the lights. You can just click assign. Now you have benches, different benches in your scene, increasing the spacing, decreasing it. Okay, as you can see. And we have the imperfections. So let me just exit the solid view. As we can see, we have these. Let me just enable the overlays and exit the edit mode. We have these trash scattered on the park. So if you want to increase them, all you have to do is to increase them from here. You want to decrease them, just decrease them. You want to make them only appear in the 3D viewport, in the render, I'm sorry. Disable them in the viewport. Okay, it's that easy. Okay, next going to the non-block, one of the easiest blocks to deal with. Okay, I'm going to enter the render mode. So as you can see, the non-block is basically nothing. You can put whatever you want in here. For example, you want to put your building, put your, I don't know, fire station, gas station, anything you want, okay? And what you can do more in the non-block is to add a material. For example, you want to make an ocean, then you just search for water. All these materials are iCity materials, okay? That's why it's a little heavy in the viewport, okay? In the render, I'm sorry. Okay, so now you have the water material. You see, there is a lot of tiling, so you can just increase the scale or maybe decrease it to 0.01, for example. Now you have a better water in the non-block, okay? And if you hit the UV mapping, you can just offset the UV map, as you can see. And yeah, fun fact, the non-block is the fastest block in existence. As you can see, it's real-time updating. And you can rotate the UV map if you're not comfortable with it. Okay. And yeah, that's the non-block. So now let me just exit this render mode and talk about the green. So the green is divided into 3 sections: the general and the terrain and the trees. As you can see, we have a lot of settings for the trees. So basically the green block, let me just go to general. It's limit sign. It's just a green area, like a forest. You can just keep scaling it and have a very big forest, okay? So the tree density is too much, I think. So go into trees section. Then you have the tree density, decrease it. Something like this. Then you can control all these trees in here if you want. Same as all the blocks. Okay, we'll just make it 0.1. I think that's going to be enough. Then just scale it more and more. So as you can see, all the trees are low poly. If you want to have the high poly ones, just click high poly trees and you have the high poly trees now. I'm going to stick with the low poly. And yeah, it's, as I said, just a green area. Here's the high poly trees. Okay, let me just hide the overlays. You can't control the colors. I know it's now looking very ugly having all these colors. Okay. And we have 3 types of the green area. You have this one, for example, which is for very, very, very large areas, as you can see. Like this block is, let me go to item, exit the, yeah, this block is about 700 by 700 meters, okay? But the best scenario case to use the green area is like, let me just scale this way too much. Okay, so now it's 2.5 kilometers by 2.5 kilometers. Go into the render view, and yeah, you have this large green area. You can control the offset, the rotation, and the seed of the block. same as all the blocks. Not going to deal with them now because the tutorial is very, very, very long. As you can see, we are about an hour of recording and we still did not touch all the other settings. Let's go down. Okay, so that's the green block, a very easy block. I'm not going to talk about the terrain now unless I start with the road. Okay, so yeah, that's the blocks section. You have all these settings. You can create the city of your dreams using the blocks. And now we're going to start talking about the road. So let me just delete everything, go adding a plane, scale it up a little. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the road. So let's go to the road section. And as we can see, we have two parts, the sidewalk and the road. So let's talk about the sidewalk first because it's much faster than the road section. So first we have the general, and then we have the props and the materials. Going to the props, we can see we have lights, trees, bollards, bus station, benches, services, billboards, and electricity poles. Going to the trees because they are very annoying. I want to pick this one, for example. Maybe this one. This one is a little small. Then going to press 2 on the keyboard so I can go to edge select mode and click assign. And with that, as you can see, we have this type of trees. As you can see, we have some clipping in here. I'm going to talk about this later. Anyway, so we have this type of trees in the city. And as you can see, we have some overlap with the, for example, the bench, as we can see in here, the tree is inside of the bench. And in order to fix it, we have some settings in here. We have the tree spacing, we have the tree offset. So you can just move the tree, for example, 2 meters to the right or left. And now it's not intersecting with the bench. And you can change the spacing. For example, you see we have a tree each 15 meters, so you can make it, for example, each 25 meters. Okay, and then we have the tree rotation, which allows you to rotate the trees. For example, you want to use a part of the tree. For example, let's imagine there's these benches in here and leaves. Okay, and they're blocking the scene for you, so all you have to do is to rotate the trees. Okay, and then we have the trees depth. Okay, which is going to control the depth of the tree. What do you mean by depth? Okay, so if I have the depth 0, it's going to be on the curve of the sidewalk, and a depth of 1, it's going to move 1 meter back in the sidewalk. A depth of 2, it's going to move 2 meters back from the road, and etc. Okay, so these settings are the same for most of the props in here. The light does not have rotation, but it does have all these settings. So you hate this weird looking road light, so you have to do is to, for example, pick this one, assign, and you're ready to go with this one. Then we have the benches. You hate this bench, so go to the benches. You have like, I don't know how much are those, but just pick what bench you like and assign. Okay, let's say you don't want any bench on this edge, or let me just subdivide this block. Okay. So as we can see, we have different types of trees on each road. Okay. One way to fix it. To fix it? No. I wanted to say that you can edit the tree on each edge individually. For example, I want this road to have these pink trees, sakura trees, and then this road to have the yellow trees. So I'm going to assign the yellow ones. Okay, and like this, you can, for example, assign the red one for this road. Same for all of these props, as you can see. And then we have the I'm going to talk about the electricity pole. So what is the electricity pole? Why we can't see it? As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, some props does not appear when the sidewalk is when the sidewalk width is less than a certain value. So go to general, then you have the sidewalk width. Let's set it to 5. The maximum is 6, but I'm going to stick with 5 now. 5.1. Why 0.01? I'm going to talk about this later. Anyway, so now we have more dense sidewalk, as you can see. Let me go to the center of the city so I can see more stuff. Okay, going to the center of the city and going back to the props. We have as I said, the electricity pole. So these are the electricity poles. Every 41 meters, you can decrease the spacing or increase it. And as you can see, you can't assign or remove because you have to be in the edge select mode. It says this in here. Anyway, we can see parameters for the electricity pole that are not for any of the other props, saying birds on cable and cable have birds. What is this? So before I talk about this, this is very heavy. Don't move them up to 1, both, okay? Let me just search for an electricity pole that does have birds, so I can just talk about this. As you can see, some electricity poles does have birds on them, like this one, okay? So you can just increase the birds on this cable. For example, 5% of this road is of this cable is covered by birds. Now 10%, you'll see more birds are appearing. Now 20%, and you can just keep on going. And the cables have birds. Let's say we have 100 cable in this city. 5 of them are going to have the birds, and the other 95 are just going to be bare cables. You can increase this density, for example, 0.1. Now 10% of the cables of the city are going to have birds, as you can see. We have birds in here and too much birds. If you're annoyed by the cables passing through the buildings, you can just offset the electricity pole until you find a spot where the pole or the cables are not intersecting with the building. Oh, I'm changing the depth. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, something like this, for example. You know, you can just play with this. And another prop that does have a unique sliders is the bollard. So I'm going to pick the bollard, which is stored on the vertex domain. These are the bollards, okay? We have like, I don't know, 12, 13 bollards. You can just click assign. Now you have a new bollards on the sidewalk. And it does have the distance from intersection. So how the bollards work is this is an intersection, or let's call it a node, okay? The bollards are going to be instanced based on the distance between the path, which is supposed to be instanced on, and the intersection, this distance, this one, okay? So, for example, now it's going to put bollards on the sidewalk for each point that is far 13 meters from this intersection. Okay, I know it's hard to explain it. I'm going to show you how to do it just visually. Let me just decrease this slider, then you can see more bollards are disappearing. Increase the value, and now the bollards are going to be instanced on more parts of the sidewalk. Okay. I hope you understood what I said about this. I'm not a native English speaker, so forgive me about that. Okay. And yeah, that's about the sidewalk props. You have tons of props, services, bus station, benches, boulders, and that's too much. Okay. And yeah, the general. Let's talk about the general. We have the sidewalk trash density. You can increase the trash on the sidewalk or decrease it. Yeah, forgot to say, you can disable each prop like this, same as the blocks. Am I recording? Yes. Okay. Now the general, as I said, we have the sidewalk width, the sidewalk trash density you can disable, enable, and the remove crosswalk ramp. As you can see, some crosswalks does have this ramp which allows you to, safely cross the road. Let me just enter the render mode. Okay, so remove. And yeah, they're going to be removed. It's that easy. If you want to bring them back, just click this box. Now you have them back. Okay. Something to mention that if you have the sidewalk width less than 3, I think, it's automatically going to delete the ramp. Let me just list 2, I think. Yeah. Now you don't have the ramp because it's going to block the sidewalk and pedestrians can't just move. So yeah, that's something to mention. So if you just don't see it and you just keeps clicking the remove, nothing happens. Yeah, that's the reason. Okay. And yeah, that's the sidewalk. We have the material. You can control the material. For example, we have this one. You can just switch between the materials. I'm going to pick a distance. I'm going to just pick a spot that is not deformed. Let's see this one. Yeah. Okay, you can just pick between these, I don't know, 5 materials. Okay. You can see the materials are wet. We're going to talk about this later, how to make them dry, wet, all that stuff. And yeah, we can see we have the sidewalk in here and the curb. You can change the curb. Just pick any curb you like, assign. The materials and the curbs are not edge based. It's a global setting. So there's no need to be in the edit city mode to edit those, okay? Another thing to mention is that the curb material is going to work on not only the sidewalk, it's going to work on the islands and the roundabouts and the custom islands. What are those? I'm going to talk about them now. So in the road section, let's see what do we have. Let's enter the solid mode, edit city mode, and all these settings does work on the edge domain. Okay, select an edge, then so as we can see, we have the assign to street button. Clicking it is not going to do anything. That's because, for example, let's say you're in the highway section. Click assign to highway. Now you have the highway road, not a normal road. You don't have a crosswalk. You have these barriers and a lot of different stuff. Maybe you're asking why the entire city road just changed. Just press Control I to invert the selection. Make sure you assign the street. And yeah, we can see the blocks disappeared. You can fix that. As I said, in some cases, the blocks will disappear, and that's because the system that makes the blocks is a little heavy. So what we did is that we replaced it with a faster one, but it's not that accurate. So if you want just to switch to the heavy one, which is going to work with complicated cities, all you have to do is to go to global, advanced settings, resolve complex structures. And as you can see, the grid buildings now are working correctly with this road, as you can see in here. Okay. And yeah, I'm going to disable it because, as you can see, resolving complex city structure is heavy. Going to turn this off. I'm not really interested on having these blocks anyway. Yeah, that's about the highways. That's the first button, the assign to street. Okay. Then we have the remove road and assign and add road. You can remove this road, and now you have this block continuous like this. Why this is useful? Why just don't I delete this edge and fill this big face? I'm going to show you. Go to face select blocks, then select this face. You want to deal with park, add park, okay? And then yeah, make sure you resolve complex structure. Yeah, now this park is connected directly with this block, okay? That's why the remove road is useful, okay? Is that very heavy, the global? No. Like, you can still model the city or do some edits. Okay. I'm going to just disable it and assign the road again. Okay. Oh, and make it a normal street, not a highway. So this is the first few buttons. The spline road is very easy. I'm going to show it for you now before I talk about the other settings. Let me just extrude some roads, okay? And make sure you have at least 3 edges. Select the first, second, third one. Then now you can click the spline road, which is going to make it smooth. It's going to just do some algorithms and stuff like this. And now you have a NURBS curve road. It's very useful when making interchanges. So I'm going to delete this one. And yeah, these are the first 4 settings. Then we have the normal settings. For example, you want to make this road 2 lanes going the right side, 2 to the left side, turning the render, waiting a second, and yeah, as you can see, you can just decrease, increase. I don't know up to how much, maybe up to 6, I think, 5. Not pretty sure. Yeah, 5. So now you have this very wide road. As we can see, it changed this for the entire city. That's because if the road does not have any value, it's going to read from the nearest one. Okay, so invert the selection and bring them back to 1. And yeah, this is now what you will see. I don't know. There's no city in the world does have this type of streets, like 5 then connected to 1. That's going to make a very huge traffic jam. Anyway, we have let me just bring this down to a logical number. Okay, then we have the street lanes width. You can drop it down to 2 meters and up to 5 meters. Okay, and then you have the one side and two side. You can just make this road go in one direction like this. I think it's going to do this for the entire city. So invert the selection, 2 sides. Okay. So this road now only goes in this direction. There's no cars are going to do this, for example. Okay. And you can flip the selection. As you can see, there's not that much differences between the width. That's because this is a 2-lane road, but you can just make it 1 like this. Then let me just increase it up to 2, flip direction, and now it's going to work the opposite direction. Now it only do this. Cars can't get out in this direction. Okay? I know you're wondering, like, what do you mean by cars? Is there cars in iCity? Maybe you can just download iCars, then add traffic simulation and sync it with iCity. You know. Okay. Next, what do we have? The flip direction. No. I talked about all that. Yeah. As you can see, you can just go to the imperfections section in here, and you can see we have a lot of stuff. Crash density. You can just make it a messy road. Asphalt crack density. You know, if you want more cracks in your road. I don't know if they're visible. Let's just set it to 1. No, you can't see that much change, especially when the road is wet. But I don't know, I'm just going to keep it 1. Then we have the water drain density, which you can increase up to 1 or decrease it down to 0. Okay. Then we have the small imperfections, which is very small. You can just notice what changed. But let me just zoom in a little here. Exiting the solid mode. The render mode, I'm sorry about that. Okay, now we can see it much better. You see these small imperfections on the road? This is what this slider do. Okay. Let me just drop it down to 0. As you can see, the same icons I talked about a lot in this tutorial. Then what do we have is the add dirt. What is the add dirt? Turn it off, and the sides of the road are going to be clean now. Okay. And then we have the manhole spacing. You see we have a manhole in here. You can just make this 4 meters, and now manholes, not iCity. You can control the depth of the manhole if you want, like this. Now we have some overlap in here. That's why we have the black looking thing. You can just make the spacing like this, or disable the manhole from this spacing icon, you know? Okay. Then what do we have is the parking, and it says sidewalk width is less than 5 meters, so it must be 5 or more. Not sure, 5 or more or 5.1. That's why I did the 5.1. Yeah, now okay. Now let me go to a road that is 2 sides, not 1, and add the double parking. As you can see, no, it must be highway, no, sidewalk 5.1. That's why we have this bug. Yeah, okay. So now, as you can see, we have these parking, side parking. So yeah, as I said, you can control whether you want the cars on the left side of the road, the right side of the road, or the both sides of the road, or none of them, which is going to remove the parking. You can decrease the card's density, increase it, or you maybe want to change the seed of the cars. Something important to mention that you must have a long road. Like, let me just scale down this city a little. Less than this. Less. Now you don't have a parking when you assign it. You're going to ask us in the community why there's no double parking. I'm just assigning it. Yeah, that's the reason. Or 2 reasons, as I said. The sidewalk width and the street length. Let me just scale this city up a little. Okay, another thing to talk about. I think you also, at the beginning of the tutorial, these stairs were just on the street. Okay, and that's because of the sidewalk width. It's trying to put these stairs, but there's not that much of the sidewalk. Okay, and because of that, I'm going to just bring this up to 5 meters. Now everything is fixed. And as you can see, we have this small park in here. I don't know why we have a park in here. Anyway, what else? Going to the road. Yeah, we talked about this, all these settings. Same for the highway, except that we have something called highway shoulder. Not parking. What is this? Let me just extrude a road. Okay. Then assign to highway. As you can see, we have this highway. And as you can see, we have something called shoulder. What is the shoulder? Let's say I want this highway to go in this direction and continue in this direction. Okay. How to do this? Let me just think about it. Okay. So first, make sure this road is one side, or these roads. Let's assign one side. Go to settings, one side. Okay. Then make sure this is 2, or for example 3. Then this one is let's say 2, and this one's going to be 1. So 3 lanes got separated into 1, 2, and the third goes like this. Okay. So let me flip the directions. I think they must be flipped. So now talking about the shoulder. What is the shoulder? You know, when a car wants to rest, for example, or the car is broken or something like this, there's that thing called shoulder on the road. Let me just bring this back to two-sided, because that's going to be much clearer. Two sides like this. Okay. Yeah. Then choose right, for example. As you can see, the highway shoulder width is 0. Just increase it up to 1. And make sure you add a point at the very front like this. Why do we add this point? I don't know. Sometimes you need it. Okay. Then as you can see, let me enter the render mode and go to the imperfections. I want to hide the moonholes. Okay. So this is the road shoulder. Here you can park your car, but 1 meter is not enough to park your car. So for example, let's say 3. Now you have 3 meters to just park your car. Sometimes the shoulder is having these wavy or stuff like this. We will look on how to draw them on the road. Okay. But at the moment, yeah, this is how the highway works, or the shoulder. You can just set the shoulder on the both sides like this. One side, the left side. You can set it to the both sides or none of them. Okay. Next we have the islands. Starting with the highway, you can go to middle. Make sure you are in highway. Then let's select those. Add middle barrier. Wait a second, and yeah, now we have this middle barrier to the highway, so that the cars does not crash, and you can control the highway light spacing, making them 2 meters. That's too much. Or 30 meters. Okay, same as the sidewalk. Then if you switch to a normal street, then let me just go to this one. Okay. Then I'm going to increase the lanes count, because, you know, we want to add an island. So that's how roads work. Assign to street, making sure it's a street. Settings, then let's say 3 lanes and 2 sides. Okay, back to the island. Yeah, as I said, it reads from the nearest. So because the highway got an island, or the barrier, all the roads are going to get their own islands. So as we can see, we have this island in here, and we have some island settings. We have the island width, for example, 3 meters. And we have the island extrusion, which is this part. I did not know what to call it, so I called it extrusion. You can just make it, for example, 3 meters. And now you have 3 meters in this direction. Okay. And then what do we have is the props, or the middle island props. You can control the spacing of these lights, the offset, same as the sidewalk, and change between these lights. For example, this one, assign, or maybe this one. You know, if you want to add some trees, you can just go to the trees, enable them, go to iCity, select those, okay? And then you can just choose one of these, I think 36 trees, assign. You can control the rotation, offset, spacing, same as the sidewalk, okay? So this is about the middle island. What about the custom? What is the custom island? So let me click edit. So let's explore together. As you can see, we have nothing changed. I can't select anything. We are in edit mode. Edit mode of what? So let's press Shift A, add plane. As you can see, we have this custom island where you can edit manually. And it's going to be synced with iCity. So you can move it up or move it any place you want, okay? It's going to stick on iCity road. And what you can do with this, for example, go in here, go to the top view, navigate where it is, then maybe do something like this, then bevel this area like this, and let's just remove these, or delete them, fill faces. Okay, a very quick modeling, because I don't know, this tutorial is taking too long time. Anyway, so you can do stuff like this, then entering render mode, you can see we have an island in here. Is it an island? I don't know. But what you can do if you want, for example, to change the material is going to be synced with the sidewalk. Okay, so that's something to put in consideration. What you can do is to select this island, this face, and change the scale of the texture. You can just change the scale like this, make it bigger, smaller, whatever you want. It's clamped to 0.1, I think. And anything more than this, you will see changes. Less than this, I don't think you can see changes. I'm not pretty sure. You can rotate the UV map of this. So if you're using a material like, let me go here, choose this one. Yeah, let's say that your island is having this type of rotation. So you have to rotate the UV map so it fits perfectly with the shape you drew. And as we can see, there's the green button. Click it. Voila, you have now trees. You can control the density. And you can control the type of trees on this island. It's not the same as all the blocks. You can't control each individual one. Only you can assign one type of trees. And yeah, that's the custom island. Very easy, yeah? You can hide the trees if you want. Then we have the nodes. What is the nodes? Let me just delete this island. Exiting object mode, edit city. Solid viewport. Selecting this vertex, going to the nodes. We can see we have bear, traffic light, roundabout, interchange. Too much stuff, right? So you can select the bear, then click assign. Now you don't have traffic lights. Traffic light, assign. Now you have traffic light, roundabout. Now you have a roundabout. You can increase the width or the radius of the roundabout 4 meters. And it's the same as the custom island. You can control the tree density and you can offset it on the x-axis. Okay. Or on the y-axis. So you can just put the roundabout wherever you want. Maybe just making stuff look less perfect, because cities are not perfect. Like, there's no roundabout in the world exactly at the middle of the intersection. And you have the intersection width in the roundabout, traffic light, bear. What is this? it's going to increase the fillet for the intersection. So instead of it being like this, maybe you'll see something like this. Okay, so increasing the intersection width. And yeah, that's the intersection width. Same for all the types of intersections. And lastly, we have the interchange. What is the interchange? As we can see, we have these presets of highways where you can assign to the city. How to do it is very easy. You're going to start with a very small city like this, selecting this vertex, or maybe just subdivide this, selecting this vertex. Okay, and I'm going to use this one, assign intersection or interchange. I'm sorry about this. As you can see, it's having a weird rotation, so you can change rotation. Make sure you click this point, change rotation. I'm not pretty sure, 90-degree. Now, typing -90 is not going to fix it. Okay, this rotation is dependent on the current rotation. So when I clicked -90, it just rotated it back the same as it was. Another -90 like this, -90, and now it's in the correct direction. Sometimes you need to flip the direction in the interchange presets. Okay, but I think this one's good. There's no need to flip any directions. Okay, and yeah, you have this big preset where you can control manually. Just for example, take this, move it up, or do some weird stuff. Okay. Yeah. And before we go to the materials and talk about the materials, I'm going to show you something. Do you remember the blocks, the green, the terrain section? I'm going to talk about it now. So for cases like this, let's say you want to fill this area with trees. Okay, how to do it is very easy. Just select this edge, subdivide. Now you have these points in here. Okay, I'm going to select from here, control and select, control select, control select. And I have this region which is not closed. Okay, this region, when I click the generate terrain, it's going to generate the green area filled in this area. Maybe you'll see some additional terrain in here. Selected, deleted, and it's that easy. Okay, you can enter the sculpt mode, then start sculpting in here. I don't know, making more natural look for the terrain if you want. And you can control the tree same as the green area, probability for each one, and all that stuff. Another thing to mention is that if you just go to edit terrain, and let me scale this a little, all the columns carrying the highway disappeared. Okay, that's because the road interacts with the terrain. So if the distance between the terrain and the road is not that much, it's going to say, yeah, this distance is so small, there's no need to add the columns carrying the road. Then it removes it and replace it with this wall. Okay, you can move this lower, and now there's, yeah, I have to carry the road, otherwise a wall is not a good choice to carry this road. Okay, if you want just to put your own terrain, for example, let's say you sculpted a big terrain and you want the road to interact with it the same way, just put it in here in the objects, and it's going to deal with two terrains, this one, the one generated, and the your own one. Okay, another thing to mention, edit city, you can generate multiple terrains like this, like this, then generate again. Now let me select this, or there is no need, maybe generate. Wait a second, and yeah, As we can see, now we can edit both at the same time. There's this part, I think, which is an extra part, deleted. Okay. And yeah, that's the terrain in the road section. Lastly, we're going to, yeah, there's this part, you can just move it anyway and connect it. Because this road now just works like this. Then when a car wants to come from here, you have to just merge it with any other point in the city. Anyway, edit city. No, there is no need to edit city now. Road materials. We can see we have the asphalt and paint. Okay, so let me just go here and let's see what is this asphalt thing. Entering the render, we have 4 asphalt materials. You can just choose what asphalt you want, assign. Now you have this asphalt. As you can see, it's very wet, and I'm going to show you how to control the wetness now. Go to global, and you can see this wetness. 0 means a dry city. 50% like it's starting to rain or something like this. 100 it's raining right now. I don't know how to explain it better than this. Back to the road, you can just select this white asphalt, dark one, or this gray one, I think. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Um, and we have the paint section, which is separated lanes, crosswalk, custom. Okay. So I'm going to explain this in a new scene because I don't know, these annoy me at the moment. So okay, so I'm here in a new scene and I'm going to click the edit city, subdivide the block, scale it a little, and I'm going to stick with the non-block now because I want to explain the road paint and want everything to be clear. So, going to the road, sidewalk, props, and trees, undisable them. And you know, the default lights are trash. Sorry about this. But yeah, I don't really like them. So I'm going to stick with these ones and entering the render. So as we can see now, as you can see, the road does have some paint on it. The lanes paint and the crosswalk paint. Going to edit city, in the road section, then lanes count set it to 2 for everything, and in here 3, then scaling up this by a lot. Okay, then what I'm going to do is going to the material section, paint, and in here I'm going to show you what the lanes, the custom, and the crosswalk do. So going to start with the crosswalk, where you can just change the crosswalk shape, entering the edit city. So make sure you are in vertex select mode. Then you can just select or remove. No. Then you can just remove or assign the crosswalk. Click remove. Then the crosswalk is gone. Click assign. Then it's going to assign the crosswalk you're selecting in the it's going to assign the selected crosswalk. So it's going to assign it for the entire city, okay? But deleting the crosswalk is going to work per point, okay? And assigning it is per point, but when assigning, for example, this one, okay, let me just remove, then assign, it's going to change it for the entire city, as you can see. There is like 12 sidewalks. I'm not pretty sure about the number, but you can change them and you can change the crosswalk offset. Let me just increase the sidewalk width up to 3, then back to the road materials pane. Then you can change the crosswalk offset. Okay. What you can do else is to change the crosswalk color. You can make it red, blue, yellow. It depends on what you like. And yeah, that's the crosswalk category. That's the crosswalk section. Then you can select the, then you can go to edge select mode, go to lanes, and in here you can just remove the lanes, or you can add them if you want. The remove is going to remove it only for this edge, but as you can see, it removed it for the entire city. All you have to do is to flip the selection, click add. Same as always, it's reading from the nearest. Okay, so this is something to always keep in mind. Okay, what to do with this empty road, I'm going to show you in a second. Before I show you, I'm going to continue talking about these settings. So going to here, to this edge, for example, and we can see we have the lines spacing, which is responsible for the distance between the two lines at the middle. Let me just increase this and make it blue. Okay, so you can increase the line spacing like this and put your own custom island in here, or you can just put anything you want. Okay, and let me just make this 0. Let's say you want only one single line, as someone asked us in the community. He asked me, what if I want a single line in here, not two? In the line spacing, just say minus 0.2, I think. And with that, they are going to be merged in one lane, or one line, one paint, whatever. Okay, I'm going to keep it 0 for the tutorial. Then we have the line scale and the line thickness. So the line thickness is basically, as it says, it's controlling the thickness. Then we have the line scale, which is controlling the spacing between the dashed ones. So you can increase the scale so you have a smaller spacing, or you can just decrease it. Yeah, the default is 1. You can just increase it, you can decrease it. Then you have the dashed line and the... No. Then you have the center and border lines and the lane marking. One thing to mention, this settings work for each edge, not the entire city. So you can customize each road as you want. Back to here, and yeah, you can just change. For example, I want the center line and the border ones to be dashed. Then choose the dash, and now they're dashed. You can change the color, making them red, for example. Yellow is a popular color, and same for the other lanes. Like in this three three ways road. So in this 3 lanes road, you can just control the lane marking, this one, making it solid. Then you're going to change them like this, and those we want them to be solid. Okay, as I said, it read the value from the nearest road. Okay, that's why they switched into dashed. Okay, you can just make those dashed again, making them solid, changing the line thickness, changing the color. You know, you can do a lot of stuff. And that's the paint section. Then we have the custom, which is the same as the custom island I talked about in this section. So click edit, then you'll see you can just select anything. Click Shift A, add in a plane, move it in here, and it's going to be synced with the iCity road. You can just move it and it's going to be projected on the road. You can scale it up and, for example, do this. Then put it on the road shoulder. I talked about that in the highway section, so you can just go down in the timeline and go to that section, see what I said about the shoulder. You can just use this paint to draw it. Or what you can do is to draw your own custom lanes. So in this custom paint, each face is going to be converted into this texture where you can control the color. Go to face, then just change the color for this one. And you can control the rotation of it, the scale of this texture. You can do what? Offset on the Y. And you can do fillet if you want, like this. And the fillet is useful for highways. For example, if you have a highway that is going like this, sometimes there's that shape that is painted in this area where you can just draw it using the custom paint. Next, what you can do with the custom paint is you can just use edges to draw your custom lanes. Like this. And this thing is very fast. Okay? It's the fastest thing in iCity, I think. You can just do the fillet and another fillet in here. I don't know why. Then you can go to edge select, selecting those and giving them a red color, increasing the scale or the thickness maybe. Maybe you want to make them dashed, then control the scale of them, same as the normal lanes in here. You can give each one a different color. For example, this one, I want it to be blue. Now it's blending between red, then blue, then red again. Same for the face, you can just do this, which is going to remove the fillet. To use the fillet, make sure your point does have only 2 edge neighbors. Otherwise, it's not going to do the fillet. You can give this face a red color, then this one a yellow color. Yes. You might be asking why they're not synced. That's because the offset values. So just select them both. Make sure it's 0. The rotation is 0 for both of them. 0. Yeah. Now they're synced. Yeah, that's the custom. And yeah, that's the road section. We're just done. Okay. So if you are still watching for the moment, don't forget to subscribe and like. I know I said that at the beginning of the video, but you know, we need more subscribers. Thank you for your support, by the way. Your support keeps us going. So thank you, guys. Okay. Now going to talk about the global and the export. The export, a lot of you now are saying like, yeah, let's go. We need to see how the export works. We made it very easy. Okay. Let me just remove the custom paint. Go to global, edit city. Blocks. I'm going to make all the blocks parking. You know, one is going to be parking. Another one is a grid. And I want to add a tower. This type of towers maybe. You know, I'm going to add this one in London. And I'm going to add a park. This one. You know, because I love what I'm going to show you now, especially with the towers, I'm going to add some more towers. So I'm going to select these 2 edges, extrude. Yeah, as we can see, because this is a very big block, that's why it just used the Terrace towers on it. Like, you know, I don't really care what. Then trying just to move the points so it generates the block in here. Or you can just use the advanced I showed you in the global settings. Okay, we have this. I'm going to use in here, just want to scale this down a little. And I'm going to use the Empire State one. And for the Terrace ones, I think we want to change the seed. I'm going to exit the render. Yeah. Okay, this is looking good. Okay. So for the global settings, I should stay in the render because these settings are related to the materials and stuff like this. Starting with the witness, I know there's the edit culling. I'm going to talk about it at the end. So we have the witness, which I showed you. You can just make the road dry. Not only the road, as you can see, the ground of the tower, the base tower, the roofs of the grid building, all the materials, the parking, everything, the sidewalk just went to dry. You can just set it to 100. You can just set it to 100 and everything is going to be wet, like it rained before a few seconds. Then, now I'm going to show you a magic. Go to the world settings, surface, decrease the strength down to 0, and we can't see anything unless we click the night mode, which is one of my favorite things in iCity. So as you can see, the towers in the night mode, they look so beautiful. Okay, and we have the roads, the sidewalk lighting, the grid building, the parking, the parks, lights everywhere. Okay, so I did not really like this. I'm going to change the towers block. I'm just making it a little smaller. That's going to do the job. Another one of this? No. I'm going to use this one. This one looks cool, as I remember. Yeah. And okay, yeah. Do we have a parking? Yeah, we have parking in here. Okay. Back to render global. Waiting a few seconds. As we can see. In the night mode, what you can control is the building lights, which is the grid building lights. So you can control the probability. Increasing it to 1 means all the rooms are going to be lighted. Okay. And down to 0 means none of them is going to be lighting. Then you have the strength. You can just set it to a very high number. I don't recommend doing that. And yeah, that's about the grid buildings. So I'm going to decrease the light strength, or I'm just going to decrease the probability, and I'm going to stick with this for the moment. Then, you can just take close shots. Just wanted to say that. There are some rooms and stuff inside the buildings, so yeah, don't worry. And maybe when I disable the compositor, they will look much clearer. I'm going to stick with the compositor. I like it. Yeah. Then we have the sidewalk lights, which is the sidewalk lights, as it says. Nothing very complicated. I'm just going to throw myself in the road, for example, in here. Then trying to look on one of the lights. I think this is the parking one. I'm going to just aim to this one, on this one. So you can change the color and the strength. Starting with the strength, for example, 100. Now it's kind of turned off. I don't know, this large value. You can change the color, making it blue, cold, things like this. Okay, so you can see the city now. It's, I don't know. I think Paris does have the blue lights like this, but not with the yellow crosswalks. I'm not pretty sure. Then you have the tower lights, where you can control the probability, which is not something that I recommend. And you can control the light strength, 1555. Then yeah, I don't recommend increasing it that much. Maybe something like 15 is going to be enough. And we have the tower parking light. So going to zoom on this parking like this. Okay. Then we have the parking light where you can control the strength of the light. Something like 2000 is enough. Making it pink, for example. I don't know why, but why not? Increasing the strength, and as you can see, this only affects the tower parking lights. Going to the parking block, it's not affected by these colors. You can just control them from the parking light, making it green. I don't know why. Hulk spawned here. I don't know what is this. Green Lantern. And we have the parks. And we have the Terrace. I don't know why I did not add a Terrace block in here. But it's the same as the towers and the grid building. So I'm going to stick... so now I'm going to show you the parks. Increasing the strength. I don't know, too much. Like this. You can see there's lights in the park. And I'm going to throw myself in the city. So just to have a look at all these weird colors. I don't recommend using these colors. But you know, the city looks beautiful. It's not that bad. I'm shocked, by the way. I don't know why. Anyway, yeah, that's the night mode. So I'm going to close the render now and get out of the night mode because it makes the scene a little heavier. And going to start with a basic grid block. And I'm going to bring back the trees like this. I want to change them to this pink one. Okay, back to global. What is the culling? Going to edit culling. And as we can see, there's this huge cube. Scale it down so we can just see what it's going to do. Anything outside the culling box is going to be a low poly version, or it's going to be deleted. So scale it down more than this, more than this. As you all can see, it's deleting parts of the city. Why this is useful? So let's say you're rendering a very big scene and the far objects are high poly and they're taking too much of your RAM and the render time is 2 years. So instead of suffering like this, all you have to do is to use the culling in the area where you want the highest details, and else is going to be, I don't know, this weird shapes. By the way, in render they look good. They're not that bad. Let me just bring back the light to the city. You know, there's not that much difference. Okay, so this is the culling. And last but not least, I'm going to talk about the advanced settings resolve complex structure. Responsible for, let me just show you. Let me exit the edit culling. Here you can just enable culling preview when you exit the culling. You know, you can see the culling preview. So when you're modeling, you can just, I don't know, see the culling. I'm going to disable it now. I don't really care for the city look. So the resolve complex structure, as I mentioned before in the video, there's a lot of use cases for this. Let me just subdivide the block, select this road, and general highway assigned to highway. The blocks are gone. No, invert selection, street, assign to street. Now, as I said, the blocks are gone, and one way to bring them back is using the resolve complex structure. Another use for this, if you remember in the previous section where I was talking about the night mode, where the tower block disappeared. If I use the resolve complex structure, it's going to bring them back to me. Another use case is, let's say I want to remove this road. Going to road, remove road, and I want to assign, let's say I want to assign a park block. Why not tower? Why not? Okay, so here we have a tower in here, it worked well. I think the resolve is on, yeah. When the resolve is off, you'll see this bug in here and nothing's working correctly, so turn it on and enjoy. Now you have a tower that is connected directly with this building. You can just maybe use a park, whatever you want. Yeah, another use case for this is when dealing with highways. So let's say you want to just, let me duplicate this road segment, disable the resolve complex structure, move this edge in here. And as you can see, there's these bugs where this building is, I don't know how is it formed. Okay, one way to fix it, the resolve complex structure. You can just make this longer, resolve. Now it's going to cut the buildings in this area. So you can just fill it with anything you have, just through a plane or the terrain or anything like this. Usually this is a highway. So there's these columns where you need the terrain below this. Okay. Yeah. So this is something to use when dealing with the highways, especially. Another use case for this. Let's say you have this dead end inside of the grid block. Okay. If you have, let me just delete this. If you have the resolve complex of, I don't know, is it going to deal with it? Yeah, deal. And yeah, this is the global set. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at the export. So first thing, before we start exporting and dealing with the convert to mesh copy and all that stuff, make sure you save your Blender file because you will need it. Okay, so I saved the file, and quick thing to mention, if you have this bug in here, which is not really a bug, you can fix it by just going to Edit City, blocks, in the grid one, just offset on X by 5 meters, I think. I don't know, try to find a good number. Okay, that works good. Going to the export. So as we can see, there's the convert to mesh copy. We have the join meshes, export to Unreal, GLTF, FBX, USD, and advanced settings. And these advanced are for the export. Okay, so let's talk about converting to mesh first, then the export. I'm going to save an incremental so I don't have to resave the file and all that stuff. Make a new scene, and save it again. And I'm going to select something to export. Going to select the road, sidewalk, grid, parking, and parks. Okay, and if you have any other objects in the scene, you can just select them. I'm going to stick with these, and because I have the join meshes on, when I export, each building is going to be an individual object, and all the trees, the sidewalk trees, are going to be an individual object. Same for the park. Like each group of objects is going to be joined in one object. it's not going to export as instances. So clicking the convert to mesh copy, then you have to wait a little. So after waiting, we can see we have the road objects collection, sidewalk objects, all these collections in here. Disable iCity, and nothing changed. No, not the collection, the iCity. And as we can see, the objects in here, for example, the sidewalk trees. So yeah, as you can see, we have the park trees, the road lights, benches, the base mesh of the park, the imperfections. Same for the buildings. You have this building, and those, because they're the same building, they're joined together. This one, the road base mesh, and like this. Okay, how is it going to look in render mode? It's going to look the same as iCity. And yeah, that's the convert to mesh. So you can just delete hierarchy for everything. Then go to the second convert to mesh copy option and turning on iCity again. Make sure join meshes is off. Click convert to mesh copy again. So you can see the other mesh copy where each instance is an instance. It's not going to join the instances together. Okay, so as we can see on the right, we have the road object, sidewalk, all that stuff. Let's turn off iCity collection, and we can now edit each tree individually, each road light individually, each bollard, the traffic light, each element of the buildings. So let's say this building, no, not this one. Let me go with this one. This building, I want to edit it. It says unable to execute, error changing modes. I think this is because the element is linked. So unlink it from here, unhide it, and yeah, you can just edit the building, edit the material on this building, for example, make it, unlink it, and just add anything you want to edit the material. Same for every single thing in iCity. Selecting this tree, edit mode. You can't enter edit mode. Unlink it. Now you're in edit mode for all these trees together. You can edit them. And yeah, that's the join meshes. That's what the join meshes do. Same for water tanks. Make sure you are in edit mode and etc. The same thing, the same as the convert to mesh copy, is with the export. So you can export GLTF, export FBX, export USD, having the meshes joined or instances like this. Okay? How to import this into Unreal having instanced static meshes? I don't know. I'm sorry about that, but I've been searching for a few hours to answer Mr. Waleed's question on the community. He asked me how to import the instances inside of Unreal having instanced static meshes. And after searching, there's no easy way. There's ways to do it, but an easy way, specifically, there's no easy way. That's because you have to select all these similar objects inside of Unreal, then you have to just use the make instance static meshes, and you have to do this for the trees, then the bollards, then the elements of the building, and you just keep going. This process is going to take forever. So that's why there's the join meshes, where you can just join, convert to mesh copy, as I showed you before a few seconds, then export this to Unreal. Okay, I'm going to delete everything in here. Delete hierarchy. I'm using Vulkan as the backend of Blender because it's faster when dealing with that much of objects, deleting and converting to mesh and all that stuff. Okay, so now we're going to do a real export to Unreal Engine. So I'm going to stick with the joined meshes, and instead of clicking convert to mesh copy, I'm going to go to GLTF export. There's the separate textures, which is going to put all the textures in another file, so the elements are going to read from this file. If this is off, you're going to have the textures packed with the object, which is going to make the size of the objects much bigger, not the size of the scale. I'm talking about the size in megabytes when storing them in the path. Okay. Um, Another thing to mention is the export to Unreal. So you can just in here put the Unreal path, and it's going to be exported to the scene you want. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stick with this one. Okay. Export GLTF, joined meshes, separate textures on, then export. It's now it asks you where do you want to save the export in. I'm just going to stick with this path, export. And now you can see there's iCity export status, which is going to tell you what's going on. Okay. And another thing to mention is that when you edit this city, it's not going to affect the export. For example, if I just change this block into, for example, a tower, let me go to tower, assign. It's going to stay the same result when exporting. It's not going to include the tower. It's going to include the grid system that we're in here. Okay. And you can read export parking 1 out of 5 because in the selection I have 5 selected objects. Okay. The custom island, the road paint are with the road. Okay, that's something to keep in mind. And here you can just read how to export. Welcome to the iCity export system. Scroll all the way down. Once you finish reading and know how to export, click OK. And thanks to Muhammad who designed the UI and who wrote this. Okay. Next, what do we have? The advanced settings. Okay. The advanced settings, for example, let's say you want to export this now and you want to just click export. It's going to export it. Just make sure you have the towers on. Export. Okay. So now I have two export processes going in the background. One is going to override the other because I have to export the road twice now. I believe it's going to override the road. I'm not pretty sure. But I'll have the towers and the grid system in different files now. Okay. So now I'm exporting two files at the same time. You can export FBX at the same time. But let's say you want to export 10 files. So you have to go to maximum export processes and increase them to 10. Now I can only export 3 files together. Anything more than this is not going to be allowed once I increase this, but as you can see, that might freeze your computer if increased too much. And what do we mean by too much? I think 5, 6, something like this. Okay, so waiting it to export, then we're going to see you in Unreal. So if you see this, the view log and status export completed, 5 objects, this means that the export is done and you can navigate to the folder in here. This is where the iCity export 1, iCity exports. Here you have all the files of the export, okay? How to access them? Just click this icon here, okay? And you can view log, which is going to show you the entire log of the export, okay? No, in here. Anyway, so this is the log of the export, and here's the second export. You can just navigate, see where is it saved. where it is saved. And here are all the exports. How to import them into Unreal. Open Unreal first. Okay, so here we have Unreal UI. Go to Architecture, Blank, Create. Okay, so here we have the scene in Unreal, and I'm going to start by selecting this flow and delete it. And then for the export itself, how to do it? The export, the import. Go to File, Import into Level, then going to the place where you have saved the exports, iCity exports. Then here we can see export one, iCity exports. The export one is the name of the blend file, then iCity exports. Go in here, and I'm going to start with the road. Double click it and import GLTF. An important thing to mention that is GLTF is the best format to import into Unreal from my test. You can use, you can try FBX or USD, but you have to do some manual editing and some stuff like this. Anyway, I'm going to name this folder road. Double click it. Okay. And in this UI, make sure you go to static mesh, build nanite and turn it off. Then click import. Then it will start importing. As you can see, here we have the crosswalk, the imperfections, the traffic light, everything. Okay. And then we're going to import the file, import into level, the sidewalk. Going back, sidewalk, sidewalk.gltf, a new folder, sidewalk. It's going to use the same previous settings. As you can see, the build nanite is off now. So you can import, wait it to import. Now in big scenes, it's going to take more time to import. This is something important to mention. And something good about GLTF is that there is no backface culling. For cases like the fence of the parking, this is very useful. Okay, import done. Here we have the trees. So as we can see, this is our city now. And now I'm going to import the, I don't know, grid or towers. Parking. There's no need to create a new folder, just put it in the content and just go ahead. And then I'm going to import the parks. Same thing in the content folder. And since these are joined meshes, so all the trees are going to be joined, all the road lights are joined, and like this. So it finished importing, and here we have the park, and here we have the parking. Okay, both are imported into Unreal. And lastly, we have the grid or the tower. I'm going to import both of them, so we can see both of them inside of Unreal. Starting with the grid, because I love the grid more than the towers. Import. And for the tower, you're going to ask, they're going to overlap. How are you going to import both of them? I'm going to put the towers inside the folder and then move the entire folder. As we can see here, we have the grid buildings, waiting them to finish importing. As you can see, import done. And last but not least, going to import the tower. You can skip this part, but just, now it's going to put the tower the same place where the grid system is. And here we have the tower object. Just select it and move it to the left. And here we have the SAT tower, not connected to any road, but we have it in Unreal. So, yep, this is the export. Very easy, right? Okay. So now I'm going to talk about the upgrading, upgrading iCity from an older version to a newer one. And then I'm going to talk about moving files, moving iCity files from a device to another one. And lastly, I'm going to talk about the possibility to add assets or your own custom assets into iCity. So as you can see in this scene, we have iCity 1.6.0, which is not the latest release. The latest one is 1.6.2. So if I did not download the latest version, it's going to be the default UI I was just explaining on before a few seconds. And the only difference is going to say update, or there's an update. Then clicking that icon is going to take you to Superhive. So you update the add-on. Okay. Let's say you updated the add-on. You opened iCity 1.5, for example. It's going to tell you to upgrade. You can't use the UI of 1.6 with 1.6.2, for example. So when clicking the upgrade, it's going to tell you that this is going to take some time. This is an experimental feature. Make sure you save a copy of your project first. Click OK. We've tested this too much, so I don't know why it's still an experimental, but trust it. And yeah, with that, the upgrade is done. Now you're going to have all the buildings, if you have the old theme, updated to this one. And this is the upgrade. Okay, so let's say I save this file and I want to send it to my other machine that is much faster so I can render it. Or for example, I want to send it to my friend so he can see the scene I made. Or I want him to maybe render the scene for me. When sending the blend file to a friend or from a device to another, you're going to see nothing. Literally nothing. You're going to see a lot of missing libraries and a huge mess in here. Okay? One way to fix this is when you receive the file, make sure first you have iCity add-on on the second device. This is very important. Second thing, in the second device, rename the iCity collection to iCity without any version. You're going to see the upgrade, just click it, and it's going to relink all the libraries from the iCity on the second device to the scene. So you're going to see all the files. I don't have a second machine, so I can show you how to do it. Okay, so yeah, that's the way to do it. And another thing, which is about the assets. Can I use my own assets? The answer is no. Okay, we're trying to make this possible, but it's very hard. You're going to ask me, why is it very hard? Stuff like this. That's very easy. So, all the assets used in iCity are not just normal assets. There's some regulations that must be done so that the asset is compatible with iCity, with the system. For example, the road light. The light does have attributes that tells the light. Here, when we are in the night mode, you're going to add a point light. Or for example, why this light is on the sidewalk, why it's not inside the sidewalk, for example. Okay, all these regulations are necessary for the assets before it enters iCity. For example, the texture of the road. It's not very easy to add a texture to the road because you have to add 3 variations. One is wet, one is dry, and one is 50-50. And the scale of the texture is necessary too. Talking about the elements of the grid, for example, there are tons of attributes. You see, when I go far away, there's this diagonal edge, which is responsible for the night mode. Okay, there's a lot of regulations so that the assets work with the system. We're working on making this very easy, but we still don't have a date to announce when it's going to be done. Okay. We'll try to make it possible in the soon future, but we don't promise it's going to be that much soon. That's about the assets for those who asked on the community. I'm going to talk now about one of the most famous issues that our customers face. We tried to fix it for 1.6.2, but if you still have this issue, this video is going to be useful, or this part of the video is going to be very useful for you. And this issue is the installation issue. You see in the community, there's a lot of questions of an installation issue. In the email, a lot of installation issues. So here I'm going to tell you why this happens and how to fix it. Okay, so why this happens, because in the add-on, in our iCity add-on, when we store the textures or the assets, there is a path, and this path is very long. It's stored like assets, then it says blocks, then housing, then grid. Then inside of the grid, there's elements, and inside of the elements, there's the textures folder. And inside of this folder, there's the long name of the texture, That's a very long path, okay? And when using any add-on in a Blender, when it wants to extract the zip file, I think there's a maximum of 200 characters. Anything more than this, it's going to give you the installation issue. Okay, so why it works on devices and other devices it does not work? The reason is because you see before the assets there's the add-ons and there's then the username. There's Blender Foundation, app data, all that stuff, but the username is what is different from a device to another. So if your username is too long, for example, my name is Abdurrahman. Abdurrahman is 11 characters. Then I add the word computer, for example. That's going to be a total of more than 20 letter, maybe, with the spaces and all that stuff. Okay, so let's say this path is 180 character. Adding this 20 is going to cause the installation issue. While another guy is while another guy named his PC A for shorten, okay? That's only one character, which is going to make this path 181 character, okay? I know this is very complicated. How to fix it, I'm going to show you in a second. I have the iCity pack that I downloaded, and I want to just install it in a way that I don't get this error, okay? Press Windows and R, go to App Data. Okay. Then you'll see roaming. Let me just put this on the left side. Roaming. Inside of roaming, go to Blender Foundation. Inside it, you will see Blender, Blender 4.5, scripts, add-ons. Then delete iCity. Then all you have to do is to right-click on this folder, then go to extract all. It's going to ask you where do you want to extract this thing. Copy this path, browse, paste it in here, select folder, nope, paste and hit enter. Okay, select folder. Then click extract. Okay, so after it finishes extracting, double click the iCity folder. Congrats, you have iCity in the add-ons now. All you have to do is to go to Blender and click in, you will see iCity. If you don't see it, go to preferences. I'm going to press Ctrl and comma. Make sure your iCity is enabled. If it's not enabled, enable it. Okay, another quick thing that I forgot to mention, real quick, is the sync with the traffic. Let me just start a quick scene without the start precinct settings. So here I have my city. I'm going to just roughly make a very quick city. J, and clicking J again, scale it by 2. I'm going to road, nodes, roundabout, sign. Okay. Then maybe making the roundabout radius bigger, selecting all these edges, going to general, maybe 3 lanes are enough, inverting the selection, making them 1 lane. Okay, yeah, I think this is enough. Then exiting the edit city, iCars, traffic, start system. You can see the iCars full tutorial linked down in the description. There are like 4 tutorials for iCars, so you can go check them. As you can see, it's not synced with iCity. Click the sync with iCity. And here we go, it's synced. There's a roundabout here, you can see. You can link all the cars if you have the iCars full pack, which is going to give you trucks and buses. You can just increase the bus probability from here. Sport cars, all that stuff. So that's it for this tutorial. This is the full guide of iCity. I'm sorry if I missed any of your questions or I forgot to mention some important stuff. I tried to cover as much as I can from iCity. Go grab iCity, link down in the description. Sorry for this long tutorial. I know you're bored now. You just like close the video, get out, go walk or touch some grass. Thank you for watching again. Thank you for your support. That's what keeps us going. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and if you see this video helpful, just share it. And yeah, thank you. Have a good day.